The sky was still bright, a striking blue not unlike the color of her father's tail. If only she could make him see how incredible the world up there was. The birds soaring through the clouds, the warmth of the sun on her hair, the salty smell of the sea. Ariel loved everything about it. Scuttle! She waved at the seagull. Any sign of him? Scuttle landed on Ariel's arm and patted toward her hand. You mean the furry one? No, silly, Eric, the one who was playing the snarfblat. Scuttle blinked, as if he didn't remember exactly what a snarfblat was. Ariel motioned with her fingers, playing music. Oh, the prince, Scuttle chuckled. He's been looking all over for you. Really? He's already taken his boat out 3 times today. Come on, I'll show you. Scuttle leapt back into the sky, and Ariel followed him toward the shore. He was right. Not far from the beach where Ariel had left Eric was a rowboat. Sure enough, it was the prince's. He was playing his snarfblat, playing a melody that sounded like the one she'd sung to him. Ariel's stomach fluttered. She caught Sebastian in her hands and scooped him up. See? What did I tell you? He's playing. Isn't it beautiful? Sebastian grunted. I've heard tuna make better music than that. Ariel stifled a giggle. She knew the crab was intrigued. All right, we've seen him, said Sebastian. Now it's time to go back. Unfortunately, not intrigued enough to let go of his worries about getting caught. Come on, Sebastian, we just got here. And we saw what we came to see, Sebastian said. Your father's forbidden you from leaving Atlantica. If his guards find you up here, we'll always be afraid of the human world if we never get to know it, Ariel interrupted. This is my chance to meet a human and talk to one. I'm going. Wait, Sebastian cried as Ariel swam toward Eric's boat. Ariel! Ariel ignored Sebastian and waved to Eric as soon as she was closer. The prince saw her right away, and he nearly jumped out of his boat with excitement. It's you, he cried. Ariel! Ariel couldn't stop the grin that came over her face. He'd remembered her name. You really are wow. Eric tilted his head in awe. You know, I didn't used to believe mer people existed. There have been stories, of course, myths, legends, but you really are here. Ariel folded her arms over the side of his boat. It was sweet how nervous he was to talk to her. She would have loved to let him keep talking so she could listen to his voice. Would you like to come onto my boat? Said Eric. That way we could sit together and talk. I'd love that. Carefully, gently, Eric took her hands and hoisted her onto the rowboat. Are you cold? He offered her his cloak. You should take my cloak. She wasn't cold, but she'd never worn anything like a cloak before. It was soft and warm, and she liked how the cloth felt draped over her shoulders. What's this? She said, touching the round metal at the folds. That's called a button, said Eric. A button, Ariel repeated. It fastens the ends together so it doesn't fall off your shoulders. Eric fastened the button. See? Wow. Ariel looked down at the button. There were so many questions she had about his world. She wanted to know about the ship he'd been sailing, how long he'd been playing the snarfblat, if he knew how to dance. What's on your mind? I've never talked to a human before, she admitted. I've never talked to a mermaid before, he said, grinning. Are they all like you? Everyone else is better at following the rules, she replied. We're not supposed to come to the surface, she wrinkled her nose. Whose rules? My father's, said Ariel. King Triton. Your father's King Triton? Eric exclaimed. Wait until Grimsby hears that. He thinks the stories about the Sea King are all tall tales the sailors tell to explain the storms. Ariel laughed. Daddy doesn't make all the storms. He's usually too busy in Atlantica. I can't remember the last time he came to the surface. Her voice turned distant. I wish he would, though. It's beautiful up here. It must be beautiful under the sea, too, murmured Eric. But he wasn't looking at the sea as he spoke. He was looking at her. Ariel blushed. Tell me what it's like living on land. What do you eat? How do you sleep? And what do you do every day? Well, Eric turned to the basket at his side and lifted it onto his lap. I brought some food if you want to try. This is an apple, and we call this a salad a dingle hopper, she cried when Eric offered her a fork. She took it excitedly and started combing her hair. Eric gave her an amused look. What? He chuckled. We use it to help us eat. He speared one of the fruit slices with the fork. See? You try. Ariel poked her fork into the slice, then examined the fruit carefully. What an oddly shaped piece of food. The reddish-yellow skin along one side gleamed under the sunlight. She bit carefully. She didn't expect the fruit to be so crunchy, nor for it to release a stream of sweet, tart juice. I love it, she exclaimed. That's an apple, supplied Eric. It's one of my favorites, too. Ariel listened raptly and tasted everything that Eric offered her to try. The apples were her favorite, and the bread with butter a close second. Delicious. After lunch, they talked for hours, barely noticing as the sun began to sink below the horizon. Ariel learned why humans wore shoes and boots on their feet, how many seasons there were in a year, what telescopes did, and how to spit out the olive seeds from the salad Eric had brought. And in turn, she taught Eric how to read a fish's face for emotion, why Atlantica had been kept a secret from humans, and the best tactics for evading sharks. Come sundown, Sebastian pinched her on the elbow. You've been here long enough. It's time to go home, he hissed. Pretending not to hear him, Ariel nudged the crab to one side. Poor Sebastian fell off the boat, backed into the water with a small splash. Ariel, he cried. What is it? Said Eric. He noticed her looking overboard. Do you have to go? Ariel finally looked at the darkening sky, and her shoulders fell. My father doesn't know I'm here. He doesn't know about you. Because contact between humans and mer people is forbidden, Eric said, remembering what she told him. He'll be worried if I stay out any longer, said Ariel. Reluctantly, she lifted herself off the boat, dipping her tail back into the water. But I had the best time. I'll remember everything you told me, Eric, and... Her voice trailed. Why was she talking like it was the last time she'd seen him? Because I don't know if I'll see him again, she thought. And I want to, but I don't know how he feels about me. Would you like to tour my kingdom? Eric blurted. I can introduce you to my crew, my friends, Grimsby and Carlotta. They'd love to meet you. I'd love to, Ariel blurted back, her heart leaping as Eric grinned at her. She couldn't believe it, an invitation to go on land. She'd get to see all the things she'd only imagined, puppets and bakeries, horses and trees that grew taller than whales. Then she shook her tail in the air. There's just a small problem. Oh, right. Eric laughed at himself. How about a ride through the countryside then? I can ask Carlotta to get you a dress. The skirt can cover up your fins, and we could take a picnic in the fields. Ariel had no idea what a picnic was, or fields, or even a skirt. But the light that shone in Eric's eyes made her nod eagerly. She'd ask Scuttle later to explain what he meant. That sounds wonderful. When would you like to come to land? Tomorrow, Ariel wanted to say, but Sebastian snapped his pincers at her fin. Absolutely not. You are not coming back here. You have rehearsals. There's the rescheduled concert. Your father will notice. Ariel sent the crab a displeased look. The concert's in 3 days, she muttered. Sebastian stared her down. He had a surprisingly piercing stare for a crab. Ariel had to look away with a sigh. I can't tomorrow, she told Eric, making a face. I forgot I'm singing in a concert. I missed the last one, so I really have to be there, and at all the rehearsals too. How about we meet the day after the concert then? Eric suggested. Do you think you could sneak away for a day? Ariel perked up. I could try. That's 4 days from now, said Eric slowly. I know you can't stay long because of the rehearsals, but do you think... Can I at least see you again tomorrow? Ariel couldn't hide her smile. Here? Here's perfect. I'll be waiting. Both human and mermaid grinned sheepishly at each other, neither wanting to be the first to say goodbye. Nor did either notice the pair of glowing yellow eyes peering at them from beneath Eric's rowboat.